The 2021 NFL playoffs are here. Super Wildcard Weekend is here. And that means I'm here to give you my best bets for Wild Card Weekend, analyzing and breaking down each individual matchup across Wild Card Weekend and giving you my pick, my best bet versus the spread on Wild Card Weekend. For the regular season, we started the series late into the regular season, finishing 17-12-1 overall. In week 17, we had a big bounce back above 500, 3-2 in week 17, and we are now 2-1 in the teaser picks. For Wild Card Weekend, I'm looking to give you my best information I possibly can. I've studied these games inside and out, and I have a ton of information for you guys. Now, understand that for the playoffs, Vegas is always sharper in the playoffs. They always have their lines absolutely perfect. They study these things, and just like myself, because there's less games, it's a lot easier to create better lines in Vegas. So you must understand that, and you must find the best possible edges you can when betting. Now, in this show, we give you the best angle and the side that you should be taking, but just letting you know that there's more avenues to bet on games than just strictly the spread, just strictly one side or the other. So make sure you check out my Patreon, where I'll be giving you all of my bets, not just my side or my pick versus the spread this week in every game, but also the other ways that you can approach Wild Card Weekend and other ways that you can make some money on Wild Card Weekend. So do check out my Patreon, subscribe there, starts at $3 a month, and I'll have all of my bets, including an exclusive show for bettors on my Patreon. Before I give you my best bet in each and every wildcard matchup, make sure you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos just like this, and comment below your questions, betting questions, or your opinion. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about Wildcard Weekend, where you're leaning, or any betting questions that you have for me. I'll definitely make sure I check and answer any questions you have. So the way I've ordered number 1 to number 6 for Wildcard Weekend is in order of confidence. So the number 1 game will be the most confident bet versus the spread I have this week in any game on Wildcard Weekend, Saturday or Sunday. Number 6 is my least confident game. The least confidence I have in picking one side or the other in a given game. Let's start off with my least confident game, but I'm still fairly confident in the underdog in this game. That is the LA Rams, plus 3.5 over the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Now, you must understand that this is the third matchup that these two teams will be facing off against each other here in the wild card round. And this time, Seattle might actually be seeing a different quarterback. It might actually be Wolford in this game instead of Jared Goff. Now, we have yet to get the information on whether it's going to be Jared Goff or it's going to be Wolford. But regardless, honestly, it doesn't really matter to me, guys. Honestly, like, Wolford has some things in his game that I think actually will benefit the Rams in playing Seattle. Let me explain. So Seattle in the last game versus Jared Goff, what do the Rams love to do? Oh, they love that outside zone. They love to hand that stretch off to their running back, and they love to boot off of it with some play action. And what Jared Goff does not allow you is mobility in this offense. He doesn't scramble, he doesn't run, and he can't make plays with his legs to escape pressure and extend a play. Well, we saw versus Arizona that Wolford actually has this ability in his repertoire, right? He has this weapon that has never really been a part of this Sean McVay offense in LA because of Jared Goff. Now, Goff has more ability to make bigger throws down the field. He definitely has the better arm of the two, and certainly is a more proven quarterback in the NFL. But if you're talking about a guy that could pick up a few yards here and there off the boot with his legs, it would be Wolford. And the thing with the last game is Seattle kind of allowed Jared Goff to do that, and he didn't have the gumption to be able to go out there and make plays with his legs. He never extended the play. Often there was a guy in his face and he just couldn't make anything happen. And because of that, because of the pressure and because of the uncomfortability that we saw from Jared Goff, he made a lot of bad throws, including one awful, I'm talking terrible, dreadful interception right to Seattle's defense. Now, the other thing about that game, the last game they played, was that the Rams dominated that game. They had many possessions inside the red zone where they were unable to capitalize. Not only the interception, but also a drive where they were stuffed on the 1 or 2 yard line in Seattle territory. They couldn't get the ball in the end zone. And all of this happened thanks to Seattle switching their defensive game plan and basically their base defensive formation. In the second matchup, instead of the first matchup where they traditionally play the classic Seattle 4-man front, in the second game, they played more bear fronts. Bear fronts, you typically have like 6 guys across the line of scrimmage, couple guys setting the edge, 3 guys inside, and that's really difficult to run what Sean McVay loves to do with his stretch runs and his play action boots. And that caught Sean McVay off guard. Not because Sean McVay's never seen that. Actually, he saw it versus Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago, and many teams have tried to replicate it since. But Seattle has never given them that game plan before, and I think it caught them off guard. Seattle was able to stuff the run, take away everything they wanted to do on the ground, and basically force Jared Goff to beat them, and he wasn't having a good day at all. So really, the quarterback doesn't matter. I think it's more about the Rams' approach from a coaching perspective. We know that their defense has been all over Russell Wilson in both matchups, making life very difficult on DK Metcalf, matching him up with Jalen Ramsey. We've seen Aaron Donald dominate. We've seen this defense, in my opinion, the best in football, really have great game plan after great game plan versus every offense they play. That includes Seattle. They've been all over what Seattle has wanted to do, and Seattle has no answers and no adjustments, at least that we've seen in the first 2 matchups. But I think in the third matchup, I'm leaning towards the better coaching staff here. Brandon Staley has been absolutely phenomenal as a coach, as a defensive coordinator. He's getting head coaching buzz. He's been the best defensive coordinator this season, and he's going to have some tricks up his sleeve to cause more pressure on Russell Wilson, to cause a potential mistake. And I believe that Sean McVay will be the big one here. He will have some answers to what Seattle is going to do if they run that bear front again, or just a couple more layers to his offense that Seattle has not seen in the first 2 matchups. Now, that's not to say Seattle won't have any answers of their own to the test, but I just believe the Rams will bring more answers to the table. This is going to be, in my opinion, a low-scoring game. Both defenses are playing very good football at the end of the year. That includes Seattle. Seattle's defense has been very good. They were much improved in the second matchup. And because it's a low-scoring game, I like taking the points with the underdog because I believe the Rams have outplayed Seattle in both games, even though they lost one of them. And I think because it's low scoring, you want to take those points. 3.5. I like the hook. Now, preferably you would have got it at 5 or 4.5 earlier in the week. But hey, I'll take 3.5 because a low scoring game means points are just generally more valuable. So the Rams plus 3.5 is my least confident pick of wildcard weekend, but I still dig it. The number 5 game, or the second least confident game of wildcard weekend, is the New Orleans Saints minus 10.5 over the Chicago Bears. Now, really, my lack of confidence in this pick just has to do with how big this number is for a playoff game. Drew Brees, the Hall of Famer in his last season, with his career basically on the line, his legacy, to make something at the end of his career here versus Mitchell Trubisky. Okay? Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm not saying Trubisky's the worst quarterback in the league. He's shown promise. He's shown flashes. But it's still Mitchell Trubisky, okay? And Drew Brees is not the great Drew Brees we've seen in the past. But let me tell you, this guy's not going to go out in the first round 2 years in a row. Okay? Sean Payton won't allow it. Alvin Kamara is on track to play. Michael Thomas is expected back for this game. Absolutely massive factor for this offense. We've seen how great this offense can be with Michael Thomas because he's the consistent chain mover. He gets drives started, and he is that one receiver on the Saints that can win man-on-man matchups consistently that you have to be forced into doubling or trying to pay extra attention to. That's Michael Thomas. Now, the thing with the Bears is that the Bears typically win or upset teams based on their ability to dominate the line of scrimmage, physicality, being physical on the offensive and defensive lines. But the Saints are better on both the offensive and defensive lines on both sides of the football. I know that everyone talks about Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and the big nasties of the Chicago defense, but the facts are that Chicago only ranks 15th defensively in sack percentage, and the Saints have one of, if not the best offensive line when it comes to keeping their quarterback upright and allowing Drew Brees to make quick decisions. That's another layer. Drew Brees makes incredibly quick decisions. With Michael Thomas, that will only be easier. Alvin Kamara was a mismatch last game. He'll be involved. Out of the backfield, one-on-one. Then you have Michael Thomas, one-on-one in the slot, most likely eating up underneath. That's where I see Drew Brees really making his money in this game. Underneath the defense, Kamara, Thomas, just eating. And I believe that makes life easy on Drew Brees. Even if the Saints aren't able to run to their typical clip, because the Bears are fairly good on run defense, I believe that Brees, out of the shotgun, getting rid of the football, not allowing Mack and Hicks to be a factor in the game, is going to be the way that the Saints constantly move the ball on long drives down the field, eventually wearing out the Bears' defense. Now, on the flip side, the Bears' offense is going to be in trouble. The Saints' defense is one of the best in football all around. They can pressure you, and they can stop the run. A lot of people are starting to buy into the Chicago Bears resurgence offensively, but I'm not a believer just yet. Because when you look at the schedule that Chicago has played, they've actually played the 5th easiest schedule of defenses this year, and over their past run, they've played some pretty dreadful units that have been able to run the football, and I just don't see them running the football on the Saints. The Saints have a top 5 run defense this year. They have faced one of the toughest schedules in the league. In fact, 3rd toughest schedule of run offenses and are 4th best versus the run. The Bears have played 5 teams in the top 10 of defensive EPA, expected points added, and they have only scored 16 points per game in those matchups. Chicago has struggled versus good defense. It is plain, simple, period. On top of their awesome run defense, the Saints also challenge quarterbacks through great pressure with an awesome defensive line led by Cameron Jordan, but also a secondary that's gotten better and better as the year has worn on. They are 4th in passer rating allowed, and they are very good on 3rd down. They're in the top 10. Meanwhile, Chicago is 31st in the NFL this season, converting on 3rd down. So if the Bears aren't able to run the ball successfully on 1st and 2nd down, forced into 3rd down and long, the Saints are going to win more often than not. What if they get into short yardage? Well, New Orleans is way better in short yardage. They are 12th defensively and 2nd offensively. And Chicago is 25th offensively at moving and converting 2 yards or less on 3rd down or 4th down. So Chicago is just not good in the power area of the game. People give them this identity that isn't quite there. New Orleans led by a strong defensive performance, stuffing David Montgomery, forcing the ball into Mitchell Trubisky's hands, will be the reason that they're able to cover this number and win this game. My number 4 game is the Buffalo Bills -7 over the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of people are high on the Bills, including myself. I picked them before the year to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm sticking to it. I think the Bills will make the Super Bowl, so I'm going to take them here -7. I do see some matchups in this game for where people could like the Colts. So this is why it's a little lower on the list this weekend. But trust me, I still like the Bills. And if I were betting a side here, I definitely am leaning towards Buffalo. Why? Well, let's start with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers in the playoffs, just throughout his career, you can look up the numbers, has not been very good. But where Phillip Rivers is even worse is in the cold. This game is expected to be 30 degrees at kickoff, or on that day at the very least. And that's around freezing temperatures. Phillip Rivers is 1-5 in cold weather games, including 0-3 in the playoffs. He has a 10 touchdown to 7 interception touchdown to interception ratio, and he only has an 84 passer rating. So overall, Phillip Rivers has not been very successful in cold weather throughout the course of his career. But his teams also are not very good in the cold, including the Colts, who are a dome team used to playing in that environment, will now have to travel to the East Coast to play in the cold. Buffalo is used to it. Indianapolis is not. Big thing in January. The Colts have scored 11 and 10 points versus top 10 defenses this year. Buffalo is top 12. They rank 12th, the third best defense the Colts will have to face this year. Specifically, when it comes to the pass, the Bills are very, very good. Sean McDermott draws it up. He puts people in places to take away your money concepts with his great zone coverage. The Bills passer rating wise are 5th in the NFL this season. Flipping it to the other side of the football, the Colts are the 4th best defense that the Bills will have to face this year. The Bills have already faced 3 top-notch defenses, including the 49ers, the Steelers, and the Rams, the 2 top defenses, and then another top 10 unit. The Bills have had success versus all of those defenses this year. The Colts have struggled versus other elite passers and quarterbacks. They've struggled versus Deshaun Watson twice, by the way. They struggled versus Aaron Rodgers in an overtime game that was a shootout. And I could see Josh Allen having a fair share of success in this game, both with his legs to extend plays and with his arm, the same way that Aaron Rodgers did in that game in Indianapolis. Josh Allen is a unique specimen. The thing about Josh Allen and this passing attack of the Bills is what they love to do is pass and pass more. And their goal is to wear you out. The Colts' strength on defense is their pass rush and their front. Their ability to stop the run and then get after quarterbacks. And while the Bills just say, F it, we don't want to run the ball, they're just going to keep passing it. That's where the Colts are susceptible. But that also means that you have to pass rush, snap after snap after snap, and that means you're going to get worn out by the 3rd and 4th quarter with Josh Allen running around, kind of like Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, and you're having to chase him all the time. You're having to contain him all the time. He's making these wicked throws with his big right arm, and you're just going to be dead by the time it's the 4th quarter. And the Bills are just going to keep passing and keep passing and keep passing until the clock marks 0. So the thing is, the Bills, I feel, versus this kind of vanilla scheme of the Colts defensively, they don't play multiple coverages. They play a lot of the same stuff. Their thing is, we're going to play these defenses, but we're going to execute really well. Well, I just don't think you can do that versus this good of a passing attack with this good of a quarterback. The way that he's playing, he's just going to see it, and he's going to throw it with some zip, and his playmakers are making plays for him. Now, Cole Beasley might not be there, but John Brown will be back. He'll stretch the field. I expect Stephon Diggs to be more of the underneath guy, and then Gabriel Davis will also be in the mix as well. But I expect the Bills to put up numbers on offense. They won't be fazed by the cold. Meanwhile, the Colts will. I think the Colts will have to run the ball versus the Bills to have any success, to stay in this game, to manage the clock so that they can keep it close and win at the end. But I think eventually the Bills defense will stand up to the run. This game might be close in the first half, But I think in the second half, as that defense for the Colts continues to wear out and the Bills continue to move the football and Allen continues to make things difficult, I think the Bills will continue just little by little to widen that margin and eventually cover this number. The game could be close early, but I expect the Bills offense to just absolutely win this game at home and advance the divisional round. The next game, I'm rolling with Lamar Jackson, baby. I'm rolling with the Baltimore Ravens because it's revenge time. This time the game won't be played in Baltimore like it was the last two times. It will be played in Tennessee, and the Titans will get a little taste of what the Ravens have had to feel at the hands of the Titans, but this time it's going to be different. The Ravens are -3.5, and I like the Ravens to win this game and potentially win this game big. The Baltimore Ravens have a couple of key players that I think are going to be absolutely massive, both figuratively and actually literally as well. I'm talking about Brandon Williams, the big nose tackle, and Calais Campbell. These two men are going to be the difference in this game, along with Derek Wolfe as well on that defensive line. He's still a huge man, but not quite as big as those other two. But their ability to stop the run game of Tennessee, stop Derrick Henry, will be the difference between last year's playoff game and this year's playoff game. Tennessee has played 5 games versus top 10 run defenses this year. In those games, they are 2-3. They have a losing record versus good run defenses. Now, Baltimore ended the season as the 12th best run defense according to DVOA. So they're not quite top 10. So you would say, oh, the Titans should have some success here because the Titans are one of the best running teams with Derrick Henry in the NFL. Well, don't underestimate the power of Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams, all right? Because when these two guys are in the lineup and they play, the Ravens have allowed just 88 yards per game. They did not play in the first game this season versus the Titans, which was a huge reason the Titans won and a huge reason Derrick Henry ran away with that touchdown in overtime. 88 yards per game, guys, with Williams and Calais Campbell. You know where that ranks in the NFL? Second, only behind Tampa Bay, right? Baltimore is way better at defending the run when those players are in the game. And I think they'll make all the difference on that side of the ball. Because I truly believe that Marlon Humphrey can match up with A.J. Brown on the outside. You have Marcus Peters on the other side, most likely drawing Corey Davis. I don't think they'll be overwhelmed in man-to-man on the outside. If you commit players to Derrick Henry and you put the Titans in pure passing situations, that's where Baltimore with Wink Martindale can have all their elaborate blitzes and schemes and drop this guy and throw this guy at Tannehill and just different coverages and disguises. And that's what Baltimore does. That's what they're great at on defense. That's where I think they can win, is stop that run game early, get a lead, which I've said many times, the team that will win this game will win the first quarter. I believe the Ravens will win the first quarter because I think while the Titans are trying to ram Derrick Henry up the middle, up the gut versus Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams, the Ravens on the flip side will have a ton of success with their own rushing attack. The Ravens on their 5-game winning streak are averaging over 30 points per game and over 400 yards per game. Tennessee, during that same stretch, has lost 2 of their last 5 while also just surviving on a game-winning field goal versus Deshaun Watson and the lowly Houston Texans. Not only have the Titans been losing, but it's the way they're losing that's extremely concerning and beneficial if you are wanting to bet the Ravens. The Titans defense has stunk, guys. Stunk. They have allowed 3 of their last 5 games to be 3 of their 5 highest yardage totals of the season, including 2 of their top 3 rushing totals allowed. Tennessee is in trouble. I actually believe that the Ravens might sneakily steamroll the Titans. This would be the sneaky blowout of the week. The Ravens over the Titans. Just remember I said that, okay? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll tell you I was wrong. Look out. I'm just saying. The Ravens are coming. They want revenge. I love them this week. My number 2 game is the Pittsburgh Steelers. -6.5 versus the Cleveland Browns. Here's the thing with this game. It's a lot like the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Detroit Lions. Now, I'm not saying the Browns are the Lions, and I'm not saying the Steelers are the Bucks. They're totally different teams and all that, and this is a totally different game. This is in the playoffs. But remember that Lions game when the Lions didn't have their coaching staff? Well, the Cleveland Browns might be without the coach of the year in this game, Kevin Stefanski, and one of the best play callers in the league, who allows their offense to operate at such a high level and allows Baker Mayfield to feel comfortable in a lot of these games. And he will not be at the game. He's not allowed to be at the game. He's not even allowed to talk to the team. He's not allowed to call plays. He's not allowed to get his team motivated. I just believe this is a huge factor. It is a huge negative. It is a huge reason to bet on the Steelers. Kevin Stefanski is a really good play caller. And here's the thing. When you're a really good play caller, you set a defense up throughout the course of a game. You call a play on the first drive. You call the layer to that play 3 drives from then, and then you capitalize, right? It's the greatness of a great play caller. After the script that Stefanski lays out for this offense in the first couple drives of the first quarter is gone, I'm concerned that the Browns will really be stifled on offense. They're already facing a tough matchup, even with Stefanski there. But without him calling those plays, with a first-time ever play caller, it's just going to be difficult versus the best or the second best defense in the league. Especially a defense that's already a great matchup for you. I mean, TJ Watt, gonna wreck shop. Cam Hayward, wrecking shop, okay? They have gotten pressure after Baker. They've caused issues. This was Baker's worst game the first time they played, because the second time didn't count because those players weren't out there because the Steelers were resting. Big Ben's gotten his rest. He's gotten his right arm. It's all flexible now. It's ready to go. He kind of fixed a little bit of the passing offense versus the Colts, which is a very similar scheme to the Browns defense, just a worse version of it that he plays this week. The Browns defensively, bad linebackers, bad safeties, can't defend the middle of the field. They don't have Olivier Vernon. They're without Joel Bitonio on the offensive line, who's a Pro Bowl player. They're missing players. They're missing coaches. The Steelers are rested. They're pretty healthy overall. It's been a bad matchup because the Steelers are great versus the run. They shut down Nick Chubb. They shut down Kareem Hunt. Donovan Peoples-Jones has a concussion, who's the deep threat, so you're not worried about anyone running past you down the field for a big play, so now you can commit to Nick Chubb even more. This is a terrible matchup for the Browns. I feel bad for the Browns because this is the first time they made the playoffs in a very long time. I would be absolutely shocked if the Steelers lost this game. Absolutely shocked. My number 1 bet of Super Wildcard Weekend. By the way, do you guys like that name? I kind of like it myself. This is a super bet. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers -9 over the Washington Football Team. Now, here's the thing. I took this game big at -7.5. I'm not going to lie to you. So adding another 1.5 is frustrating because then I have to explain another 1.5 reasons why you should take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been a team that I've ride or dying with all year long here. You guys know this if you watch this show or watch this segment every single week. You know that we've made money with the Bucs. This week, we're going to make money with the Bucs again. We're going to make money with Tom Brady in January. Trust me, I know Tom Brady in January. He's usually pretty good, okay? So let's start with this. Let's start with the other side of the ball because I think that is where the Bucs are going to win this game. Alex Smith is expected to start for the Washington Football Team. The Washington Football Team has the worst passing attack in the NFL, ranked 32nd by DVOA. They actually have the worst offense in the NFL, according to DVOA, 32nd. Alex Smith, yes, has allowed this team to be better because he doesn't make crucial mistakes, but he also doesn't make big plays. And here's the thing with Alex Smith. He is beat up. He is hurt. And when you're playing a bunch of dogs in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, this is not a good thing. I mean, this guy's playing Ndamukong Suh. Think about that for a second. Alex Smith, every time he drops back, I literally flinch and ask him to retire. I just see the Bucs absolutely demolishing Alex Smith every drive and every series. Tampa Bay pressures quarterbacks at the second highest rate in the league. Their sack percentage is the 6th highest. Their blitz percentage is the 5th highest. So they love to send extra rushers, extra players at the quarterback, and they're very good at doing so. They have Shaq Barrett back in this game. Jason Pierre-Paul's had a great season. Ndamukong Suh's playing excellent football. Yes, they don't have Devin White, but they'll be able to find creative ways with Todd Bowles to create pressure after Alex Smith. The thing with Alex Smith here is Alex Smith doesn't have the arm to beat you down the field. So the Bucs will not be afraid of sending those blitzes. They will not be afraid of getting burnt down the field because Alex Smith can't make the throws to beat you over the top. It's simple mathematics. Meanwhile, is Washington going to be able to protect him? Because Washington's offensive line, 22nd in sack percentage. So they're not great at protecting their quarterbacks, and this guy can't move. He can't protect himself. He has a brace on his calf. He has a brace on his leg. Washington is in trouble on this side of the ball because they won't be able to run the ball either. Tampa Bay is first in run defense, 3.6 yards per carry. That is the lowest yards per carry that any team allows in the NFL. So Gibson's not going to be running all over him. McKissick's not going to be running all over him. That forces Washington into awkward third down situations where Tampa Bay can tee up their blitzers and get after a fragile Alex Smith. That's just trouble. That's just a recipe for disaster. And when they played an offense that's as bad as Washington, remember I said they're the worst in the league. The only one they played near that was Denver, which is 4 spots better than Washington, and they only allowed 10 points. So to me, this is a bad matchup for Alex Smith and the Washington offense. Then you flip it to the other side of the football. Tom Brady and people talking about him being pressured and being bad. Guys, you got to understand that this Bucs offense just started clicking as of recently. This isn't going to be Tampa Bay's offense that played in week 1 or week 7 or week 11. This offense, if you've been watching the Bucs lately, I understand they haven't been playing good competition. The same thing can be said about the Ravens, but you can clearly see the way that they are playing, just the chemistry, the crisp execution that you see. This is going to be much better. They're going to have more answers because they've played teams already that have exposed them. They've played the Saints twice, who gave them difficulties. They played the Rams, that gave them difficulties. Better defense than Washington, by the way. And still scored 24 points. Gave them difficulties, right? Defenses this year, there's been a few. Chicago, but they didn't have Chris Godwin. Mike Evans was on one leg, so if you want to count that, sure, go ahead. But Tampa Bay has now found the answers because they've seen it. They've seen what are teams doing to us? How do we adjust? They've adjusted. How have they adjusted? Play action. Keep guys in the block. Pass on early downs. Get the ball out quick to Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin on early downs. Make it easy. Ronald Jones run that football. And when we take shots, we have extra blockers. Gronk will be in the block to chip. Cam Brate will be in the block to chip. And they'll hit those plays down the field. I think Antonio Brown has a big game. I think Chris Godwin has a big game, even if Mike Evans isn't exactly 100%, which I don't expect him to be. But I expect the Bucs offense to still click. I think people are going to be surprised at how well their offense performs in this game, and people are going to start to take notes. Everyone hyping up this Washington defense that's saying that Tampa Bay has struggled versus good defenses all year. Well, Washington hasn't played any elite offenses all year either, if you think about it, right? Washington hasn't played a top 5 offense, which Tampa Bay is number 3 according to DVOA, this year. They haven't played a top 5 offense. Every time they've played a good offense, they've allowed a lot of points. 5 top 15 offenses in every game except for one, they've allowed 30 plus points. Is Washington going to be able to score 20? I'm not sure. So if Tampa can get to that 30 number, I think they easily cover. Even if they get to 27, I think they easily cover. Even if they get to 24, there's a chance they cover. So Tampa Bay, they're clicking. I think they continue to click this week and advance to the divisional round. For the teaser of the week, I know a lot of people out there are going with the Buffalo Bills -1 and a Tampa Bay Buccaneers -2.5. But it depends on the number for Tampa Bay. Like, I have it here at -9. So you can't really tease a 6-point teaser because then it's still 3 and it doesn't get past the key number there. If you could do a 6.5-point teaser, then I'd still recommend it. But you could also go the way of Pittsburgh, who I believe is pretty comfortable to win that game. So if you want to go Buffalo -1 and Pittsburgh -0.5 point, I also love that teaser as well. Those are my picks for wild card weekend, super wild card weekend. Let me know yours in the comment section below and any questions you have for me. Gronk, spike that like button and subscribe for more. Peace.